focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
All right, so welcome to Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo. I am your host, and I am here with one of the most successful people in the history of financial services. His name is Hector LaMarque. He's one of my mentors, one of my coaches. Today, Hector is a national sales director with Primerica Financial Services, career earnings of over $75 million. And he is the coach of coaches. I've known him over 20 years. He is, he has over 14,000 agents in his organization today. Is that about right, Hector?
It's about right. Close to that.
And over 400 regional vice president locations. Regional vice presidents are locations that he has mentored and coached people to open up their own locations and their own businesses so that they could, get on their own path to financial independence. And so I remember the first time I met you, Hector, you were wearing a red jacket.
Yeah.
Remember those red jackets, man?
Yeah, I remember Joe Primerica was giving those out. It was a long time ago.
It was El Torito, and it was in Upland.
It was after an op meeting, probably, right?
It was after an op meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I met you for the first time, and I think probably then you were making $1 million a year. I would imagine about
Yeah, I'm sure, right?
Little over $1 million a year, and so to see where you've gone from that point to now has been absolutely incredible, and you've changed a lot of lives, man. So we're gonna look, you've changed my life. I mean, me and my wife Karma and my kids Max and Ava. Today we've achieved financial independence, and in large part, Hector, it's because of the things that we've learned from you. So there's no question about it. There's no question about it. I mean, so today I want everybody that's listening, whether you know Hector or you don't know Hector, I want you to understand that this guy's the real deal. I am living proof that the things that he's going to teach you today, that we're going to talk about today, are actually possible for you too. So Hector, kind of tell us a little bit about your past, man. I mean, tell us, where you grew up, how you grew up, and, give us a little bit about your journey, man.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Chino, California, which is famous for its prison. And I'm the fifth of 7 children. My parents were Mexican immigrants. My dad came to this country with a third-grade education, and really, like so many immigrants, wanting to change their lives, and he definitely changed the lives of his family. And so how I started. And one of the things I think this might be helpful for people, that especially if you have young children. I grew up about a block away from the Chino City Library, and I used to, live at that library. I went there every day after school. In the summertime, I'd go there to get out of the heat, and I became a reader, a voracious reader. I've read well over 1,500 books on personal development over the last, probably 30, 40 years. And by reading, I changed the way I thought, because I came from a family where, nobody had ever graduated from college. Nobody had ever owned their own business. Nobody was financially successful. Huge Catholic Mexican family, and nobody had ever done anything significant. And, from a financial aspect, they're all good people, worked hard, factory workers, construction workers, etc. But no, not one example of financial success. The thing that allowed me to be successful was the reading, no question about it. So I would recommend, if you have young children and you want them to be successful, you should really work hard at helping them and motivating them to read. One of the things I did, I think that was helpful with my own kids, who are both very successful. I have a daughter who went to Stanford University and has a master's in screenwriting, and now is a director and a screenwriter and an actor, and very successful. And a son who went to Wharton Business School, is now a partner in a hedge fund and also doing very well. The one thing I did with them is when they were little, I would pay them $5 for every book report they did. So I got them reading. And I didn't have to do that for a very long time, but I did that and got them addicted to reading like I was. And I know that that made a huge impact on their life. So for those of you who have young children, I'd recommend you do that. And I think I recommend you to do that yourself. I mean, you know, the information to be successful is just out there. It's on the internet. It's everywhere. There's no excuse not to be successful in the United States of America. None. If you are not successful, it's because you're just not focused on being successful. You're not studying it. And that's one thing that changed my life is the reading. So I would highly recommend that. Then I went to Chino High, graduated, played all sports. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to ask you about the sports, actually. I mean, because I know that you've always had a competitive nature.
Yeah.
And you wanted to win in your life. And so tell me a little bit about that. I mean, how did sports affect you?
Well, one of the things there's I think everybody has a defining moment in their life, you know, when they either go, I'm going to go do something great or I give up. And when I was in high school, I was a freshman in high school, and I didn't play basketball. I was real short. I was like 5'3" in my freshman year in high school. So I didn't play. I played football and I played baseball. I didn't play basketball. My sophomore year, I played on the B team, which is like all the rejects that weren't good enough to play junior varsity or varsity. And I was probably the best player on the team. And then that next year, I was going out for, you know, and we were like having training for the next season. And the coach asked everybody, you know, what team are you going to go out for next year? It was JV or varsity? And I said varsity, and everybody started laughing at me, like nobody goes from the B team to varsity. That's a joke, right? So all my, you know, they are so-called friends, I guess, laughed at me, and I had an option right there. I could say, yeah, maybe you're right. I'm just not good enough. Or you could say, screw you, I'll show you. And that's the choice I made, is screw you. And so I started practicing like crazy, and you know, I was just fanatical about getting good. I practiced every day. I put up a basketball you know, rim and behind my house, and I was just nuts about getting good. I made the team, and my senior year I became they named me the captain of the varsity basketball team. Ended up playing college basketball. And what I learned from that experience is that if you really want something, and if you're willing to do the preparation to make that happen, you're willing to do the work, you can change your circumstance, you can become whatever you want to become. And that's what happened. So I took that event, and I applied it to everything I did. I got in the jewelry business after that. Right out of college, I was, you know, I needed a job, got in the jewelry business. I knew nothing about selling. I didn't own a tie, I didn't own a sport coat, I didn't own anything that I could. I had to go to my wife. I had a J.C. Penney's credit card, so I went and bought some couple of shirts and some clip-on ties because I didn't even know how to tie a tie. And started selling, and I didn't know how to sell, and I was very shy. I'm an introvert by nature, so I was very shy. And I'd go to the bookstore every day, and I started reading books on selling. You know, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success. You know, Joe Girard's book on selling. I read everything I could get my hands on regarding selling because I had no idea how to sell, and I just started implementing the things I was reading, and I did really well right away. And I ended up, you know, moving from one store to another company, and I was started there as just a salesperson. 5 months later, they made me a manager, and my income went from like $900 a month to like $3,500 a month, and my whole life started changing. And then I just wanted more. You know, I was reading all these personal development books and thinking about becoming wealthy and all that. And I knew I couldn't do it in a job.
I remember hearing a story, Hector. Maybe you could tell everybody about. I remember you talking about being at a little retreat or something with Rick Susie or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you were telling them that, you know, you were going to be successful, and you were reading all these books. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You remember going on that little?
yeah, oh, absolutely. Totally remember like it was yesterday. You know, we they wouldn't allow our spouses on these retreats, so it was just Rick and I. We roomed in the same room, and we're talking. We were both wanted to be successful. We were thinking about buying real estate, you know, that sort of thing, to do anything to just try to get out of, you know, to be successful. And now Rick is my number one most successful person I've ever produced, makes a couple $1 million a year. And but we started there thinking about it back then. This was like in 1979 or 80. It was a long time ago. And yeah, that definitely.
I think, I mean, did you ever have like was there an aha moment? I mean, for you in your life, I mean, maybe growing up or just at a point in your life, did you ever have that moment where you just said, enough is enough of being average and ordinary, and you just wanted to take your life to that next level?
Well, yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be successful. You know, I was always very motivated and very disciplined, and you know, wanted to do. I just didn't know what that was. But there was an incident that happened when I was in the jewelry business. It was my son Dak, who's now just turned 40, as you just this month actually. He's 40 years old, has 2 little boys, doing really great.
No way.
So, but he was turning 5. And I asked, there's a company called William Pitt Jewelers in Southern California. And I asked Steve Robbins, who's the owner of the company, if I could have 3 hours off for his birthday. We're going to have a birthday party and have everybody over our house. And, you know, I have a big family, and it was a big celebration. Age 5 is a big birthday. And he told me, no, you can't go. I need you to be there, because if you're not there, I'm going to lose money. So no, you can't go to your son's 5th birthday party. Can you imagine somebody telling you that? I was so angry, so livid. That was the moment, that right when that happened, I said, there's no way I'll ever work for somebody again as long as I live. I don't care if I have to work 16-hour days, 7 days a week. There's no way I'm working for another human being, allowing them to have the power to tell me if I can attend an event that my child was involved in. So that was it. I made that decision right then. So then I had somebody had already tried to, you know, recruited me into the Primerica at that time. And I just called them up. I said, you know I haven't done anything. I haven't gone to any meetings. I hadn't done any sales. It had been months, actually. And I said, I'm ready to get started. And that was in January of 1984. And I just, from that point on, it took me about a year. And then I went full time, and you know, the rest is history. But
so what would you say to people that right now, I mean, when is there a good time to go full time? I mean, what would you recommend to someone that's kind of out there right now thinking, I want to go full time in the business? Where should they be financially? Where should they be mentally? What advice would you give them?
Well, the number one thing is I look at is, what's their work ethic like? Because if they don't have strong work ethic, they shouldn't ever go full time. The second thing is, can they close? Are they able to get results on their own, by themselves? Can they recruit people? Can they close transactions? Can they train somebody? And then the other thing is, if they should have some money set aside, because, you know, it's up and down in the beginning. I think you should have at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses, your home expenses, whatever, set aside, just in case you have a rough month or something like that. But after that, if you meet those things there, I think you should go for it. You should go full time. The biggest reason why people don't go full time is they don't believe that they can do it. You know, you really have to help people believe that they can be successful. If they believe, you know, a person goes full time not 1 second before they believe they can actually be successful. So that's how I would do. That's how I always did it. That's the thing I recommend. I never try to talk people into going full time person. I know some people do that. I never did that. What I did is I prepared them to go full time. I made sure I taught them how to close, how to prospect, how to set appointments, how to do a great presentation, how to overcome objections, how the product works, how to recruit somebody to a kitchen table, and how to get somebody off to a fast start. If they know how to do those things, they should go full time.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean,
Mhm.
I think, I mean, I look back when I went full time, it was only because I knew what I was doing.
Yeah,
And the way I knew what I was doing is I studied the material. I mean,
right,
I took your scripts. You had
mhm,
lots and lots of scripts back then.
right, hmm,
I listened to Tom Hopkins for
right,
6 months straight. I didn't listen to radio. I didn't watch TV. We actually, me and Karma had our we turned off our TV for 3 years.
yeah,
We had no TV for 3 years.
just smart.
And so we just put our head down. And
Hmm.
so tell me about, like, you and Jan, what kind of decisions did you make early on to just get this thing done? Like, just get it done and over with. What decisions did you make?
Well, when I decided to go full time, we sat down and we said, okay, we're going to make a 5-year commitment, 60-month commitment. Where, well, same thing. We stopped watching TV. We stopped doing anything that didn't revolve around building our business. Every single thing we did for that first 5 years revolved around building a Primerica business. Whether it's, we didn't go on vacations. We didn't. If we had any time with social time, was always with people in the business. It was just 100% focus on building the business and nothing else for 5 straight years. But our income went from, first year we made $18,000. We were part-time. Second year I made $35,000 full-time. Third year I made $86,000. Fourth year, I made $409,000, and in my fifth year, we made $855,000, and we were still living in a tract house, $1,000 a month payment, no car payments. We were really kept our budget really low. I saved about $1 million, and I was, at the end of 1988, we were not debt free, but almost debt free, and we're totally financially independent after 5 years of just total unadulterated focus. Most people don't do that. They're not focused. They don't make a total commitment. Both of us made a total commitment. And so by doing that, people could see we were very serious. They could see we were there for them, that we weren't going anywhere, and we didn't have any problem recruiting and retaining people. The right people stayed on board, and from there the rest just kept growing.
So what was that? What did it feel like? I mean, maybe some of us, some people out there, they don't understand the feeling of financial independence. And I think that's why, like I've heard you say before, that if you knew how good it was, you would work 10 times harder.
Absolutely.
What did it feel like? Maybe take us back all the way back to, that time. What did it feel like when you had that $1 million and you were financially free?
Well, it felt free. It felt like I was free. I didn't have to worry about money anymore, and I could make every decision based on what was the best decision long term. So I wasn't worried about money. I wasn't worried, how am I going to make my house payment? How am I going to feed my kids? I wasn't worried about anything. I could then take all of my focus on just building the business. So there's two things that I did, I think, that really made the big difference. One was the focus on getting financially independent. The other, maybe the best decision I ever made financially, was to have no debt. I haven't had debt forever. I mean, I just don't believe in debt. I don't have any debt right now. I make a sizable income today, and not only from the business, but from investments that I've made over the years. I have zero debt, which allows me to have a life that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's, what I'm able to do is pretty awesome
And what
because of that.
would you make, Hector, last year? What would you say approximately would you make last year?
Well, in Primerica, I made $3 million, but
Okay.
probably almost double that number.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the choice to spend 5 years of total focus
Hmm.
put you in a situation where today you make it's pretty much
Well,
massive passive income. I mean,
it's massive passive income.
It's massive passive income, and
Right.
ridiculous amounts of residual, reoccurring stuff that comes in every day. It's like, but it was 5 years. It was 5 years of focus. Why is it that people can't stay focused for 5 years?
Well, they don't see that it's real, that it can happen to them. They don't believe it. So if you don't believe it, you're not going to do the work. That's a big part of it. And the other thing that most people never do is they never do the work to master all the fundamentals of their business. So until you master the fundamentals of your business, you're never going to have the kind of results you want to have. And most people never do that. I mean, like I said, you got to master how to prospect, you got to master how to set appointments, how to do a presentation, how to overcome objections, how to recruit somebody at the kitchen table, how the products work, how to train somebody. Those are the fundamentals that most people never pay the price to. They get pretty good at them, but pretty good isn't going to allow you to get wealthy. You got to master them. You got to be great at them, because if you're not great at them, you can't teach other people to be great at them. And so if you can't duplicate yourself, you can't get big. And most people never get to that point. They don't do the work. They do just enough, just kind of like how most people in jobs, they do just enough to get fired, and the owners pay them just enough so they won't quit. And everybody's doing just enough, but they're not focused on being great at what they do. And in my opinion, you need to focus on being not good, but great. I think good is the enemy of great. And being great is the key to any, I don't care what you do, if you think of all the people that are great at their craft, whether it's actors or singers or doctors or lawyers or construction, people, I don't care what business you're in. If you have a total commitment to be great at what you do, money is going to flow to you. People are going to want to do business with you, and they're going to want to be in business with you. And I just think the number of people that make that focus and stay on that until they get there is very rare. But if you do, it's amazing.
It's amazing if people would just make that commitment. Why did you believe it? Why did you believe it? Because that's why they don't do it, is because they don't believe it. What was in your mind that made you feel like Primerica was the perfect business for you to make, your dreams come true?
Well, because I saw so many other people doing it, and I met them. I met a lot of these people. In fact, one of the first, my first year in the business, when I won this contest, I was still part-time. I just gone full-time. Sorry, this was like October and November of 1984. And in October, I wrote 24 personal life sales. And in November, I wrote 36 personal life sales. So I won this contest to go to the Boca Raton. There was a big, one of those trips that they do now. And I had never been on one of those. I got there and I started to ask, there was all these people, $1 million earners, and all the names of those people like Buisan and etc. And I had an opportunity like you have in your past. I met these people, maybe I had dinner with them, or I had them, by the pool, and I was asking them, so, how did you do this? And why did you make this happen? And what was your focus? And I was asking all the right questions. What I found out is that most people didn't even really know how they did it, honestly. Right. And I said, I told Jan, I said, you know what? I'm asking all these people how they did it, and not one of them could tell me specifically how they did it. And I said, we're going to be wealthy. There's no doubt about it, because if these people could get there and make it happen and can't even articulate how they did it, my God, we're gonna kill it. And I just knew I could do it. I met the people that were doing it. They were really nice people, nothing that impressive to me at that point. I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And if you're looking at if other people within your business are having success, you need to, instead of being jealous of them, you should be asking them how they're doing it, and then model and mimic their behavior. It's not that complicated.
That's it. I mean, So what would you say to somebody, that says something like, well, Hector, you're lucky, you got in at the right time. My opportunity isn't as good today as it was back in the 80s or whatever. What's your thought on that? What would you
I
tell
say
people?
you're absolutely an idiot. That's not true. The truth is, it's infinitely easier today than it's ever been. I mean, with social media, which you're doing a great job with social media. There's more information on how to be successful than ever before in the history of this planet. There's so many people doing well. The need for people to get debt free and get out of debt and retire is greater than ever. Most people don't. The average person, if they had a $500 situation that came up, they couldn't afford to take care of it. I mean, people are in bad shape financially, even though the economy right now is the best it's probably ever been in the history of our country. There are so many people that need help financially, that don't know what they're doing and don't know how to get there. And so the market is gigantic. That hasn't changed one iota. Fact is, what you still have to do, you still have to prospect, you have to set appointments, you got to do presentation. I mean, that never is going to stop. You're going to have to do that. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to master those fundamentals, like I mentioned, you're willing to prospect, you're willing to set appointments, you're willing to do the appointments, and just simply work, there's nothing that can stop. There's so many young people in our business right now, very young people that are making big money, and they're in the same country you're in, they're in the same business you're in, they offer the same products you're offering, everything's the same. The difference is in their actions and their behavior. It's the only difference. So
Hey, so somebody's gonna say, because somebody's watching right now and they're thinking, I heard Primerica is like one of those pyramid type things, and I don't know if I want to go recruit people and do things like that. And what do you say? I mean, because there's so many people that are so talented, Hector, that they just don't understand business. So can you kind of maybe just enlighten some people out there of exactly how and why this is such an incredible opportunity?
Well, first of all, pyramids are illegal. And our country trades on the New York Stock Exchange, and it opened up at $15, and it's trading somewhere over $100 right now. And so no company that's not legitimate can do that. So that question is just ridiculous. And there are so many people that are doing incredibly well. It's one of the most successful companies in America. So that's a non-starter right there at all. And if you're a sharp person and you understand, I'll tell you all the time, one of the problems in recruiting really sharp people is most people don't really explain our company and what we do for people. The thing that I focused on all the time, which I think allowed me to recruit really great people and build a significant hierarchy, is that I always focused on what we did for people. I didn't ever focus so much on the money to be made. The money's fantastic, but money is a byproduct of doing the right thing for people. Making sure you're solving people's most pressing problems. There's a saying, Dr. Robert Anthony is a friend of mine. He said to me, he says, Hector, money flows to those people who solve other people's most pressing problems. And if you think about that, whether you're an attorneys solve legal problems, doctors solve health problems, and et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is, in our business, we solve people's financial problems. Their debt issue, we can help them get out of debt. We can help them retire in great shape. We can help them make more money. We solve so many different problems. And if you focus on solving people's problems, you're going to do well. And then you got to make sure they understand the compensation. The compensation is ridiculous. I mean, whether it's securities or life or whatever, we have multiple product lines. I'm hearing now that we're going to start offering mortgages in the near future here. I mean, that for somebody who's serious about building a significant business, a real business, a professional business, not a multi-level business. I never looked at Primerica as a multi-level. I know some people do, but I never have. I've always treated it like a professional business. I think training is a key. I think teaching people how to be successful, not only from a thought standpoint, but from an action standpoint, is super important. So training. every great organization, every great sports team, it's the training, it's the development of people that's the key. And if you do that, I mean, your ability to build a massive passive cash flow that allows you to be free for you and your family is better today than it's ever been. And I've been at this thing for almost 34 years now. It's infinitely better today than it's ever been.
I agree. Hector, what does accountability mean to you, and why, as you're building a team, or maybe getting connected to the right coaches, the right mentors, how important is accountability in that process?
Well, I think it's critical. I think if you're not accountable to some higher thing, then I think you're never going to, it's like having a coach. The thing that a coach does for you, they make you uncomfortable. That's one thing why people avoid it, because nobody wants to be uncomfortable. But what they get you to do is they get you to do the things that you won't do on your own. That's why people hire a personal trainer. Why would you hire a personal trainer? Because you don't push yourself in the gym like a trainer would push yourself, and you get better results when you get pushed. The same thing's true in business. In business, it's, you need somebody to hold you accountable to get you to do the things you don't feel like doing or really don't want to do. Because everybody really knows that if they're serious what to do. The fact is they don't get themselves to do it, and a coach will help you with that, the right kind of coach. And I think that if you're not going to be accountable, you're never going to do as well as you could do. I mean, you just won't, because it's very rare for somebody to do the right things on their own. And you have to look at it like that. Instead of looking at it like it's a negative, you look at it like, okay, this is going to get me closer to where I want to go. Having a coach, having a mentor, having somebody hold me accountable to my actions on a daily or weekly or monthly basis.
Hey, everybody. I just want to remind you that we are on the Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo, and our special guest today is Hector LaMarque, one of the best in Primerica. And just this is a total honor, Hector. I mean, this has been so much fun today so far. I have a couple of other things, because you kind of mentioned a little bit about about your thinking, and I know you believe in the law of attraction. What does that mean to you, and how have you applied that in your life through the years?
Well, there's definitely a law of attraction, no question. And thoughts are things. A thought is actually like an electromagnetic thing. When you think of thought, you put that out there, and it comes back to you. So the one thing I've done that I know works, there's no question in my mind, is that I have disciplined myself to only think about what I want and reject every thought that isn't what I want. And I do this. So like if I'm thinking I want to get my income to a certain number, I think about that thought relentlessly. I never stop thinking about it. I have, I'll write my goals. Like one of the things I've always done is I put my, like a synopsis of my goals. I'll have one where I get ready in the morning on my mirror. I have one in the sun visor of my car. I have it on my smartphone. I have it in my presentation book. I have my goals everywhere where I'm thinking about my goals, what I want, all of the time. And most people, there's two kinds of light, right? There's fluorescent light, which has no power, and there's lasers, which have the power to do great things, right? And actually tragic things too. They're very powerful. And so what happens when you start thinking like a laser beam and focusing in on exactly what you want all the time, all day, every day, go to sleep thinking about those things start happening. I don't know how it works, actually. I don't know. I just know it does work. And so I choose to only think about what I want. And if you're hearing this right now and you make that connection and you start doing that, it doesn't happen overnight. Thoughts don't change things in a minute. It takes time to do that. This thing has to be a lifelong focus where you do it all the time. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have problems in your life. It doesn't mean you're not going to have ups and downs. You are. But over time, if you have that kind of laser-like focus of only focusing on what you want, you will be amazed over time what's going to happen for you. I know that. If you look back at how I started my life and where I'm at right now, it doesn't make any sense. But that thought is the thinking is what created that, and it will for you too.
And I think if people are watching this right now, it's got to mean something. It's got to mean that they've probably been thinking about success, and all of a sudden they pop on YouTube, or they check out the new podcast or whatever,
Right.
and they hear something, and so you're starting to resonate in their life. They're starting now hear your voice, and who knows, maybe they'll start to check out some more stuff on Hector LaMarque on YouTube. You have so much free content out there, it's unbelievable. I think they could get a lot from it. And so, I mean, as far as like, what would you say is as a parent? Because I think one of the things that I admire you most about is not only you've had a lot of financial success, you've had a lot of freedom, and you're a great coach, but I admire you because you're a great dad. I know Dak and Janae very, Dak more so, but I know Dak and Janae, and I've known them since they were little kids.
Right.
And it's just, to me, being a great dad, being a great parent has just been something that you've done an amazing job. So give us a couple of tips on why have you been able to raise such great kids, man?
Well, I think first of all, your personal example is everything. Like you can't be like smoking a cigarette and telling your kids not to smoke, or drinking a drink and telling your kids not to drink. I mean, you have to live what you're asking or expecting them to do. That's the first thing. Your example, your personal example, scream what you say whispers at your kids, and what you do screams at them. And so that's the first part. So what I try to do is I try to be as perfect an example of success and what a good person is as I possibly could. And both Jan and I did that. So that's the first thing. And I think you need to teach them. Like I'm a student of personal development. I'm a fanatical student of personal development, and I taught my kids from the time they were little all of the way of thinking correctly, the way of looking at the world. About I talked to them about being great at what they do, not just being good. I talked to them about voraciously reading and preparing themselves. I said preparation's everything. I talked to them about that, but I didn't just talk to them. I did it myself. They saw me do it. They've seen the results of that, and now they're experiencing those same results, passing those lessons on to their kids. Dak has 2 little boys, 3 and 7, and Janae has 2 little girls. They're 5 and 10. And I'm seeing that, especially with the 10-year-old, my 10-year-old daughter she's like incredible, voracious reader, just like her mom, just like me, and doing amazingly well in school. I mean, it just passes on. So you need to think about, what do you want your legacy to be with your family, with your children, with your grandchildren, because it starts with you.
And I think that as the wealthy just keep creating more wealth. Right. And I tell people all the time, if you can come from nothing and you can be successful in America, because America is nothing but opportunity. There's a lot of victim mentality out there that says opposite. But the truth is, anybody can make it in America. But it's amazing to me how the rich just keep getting richer, because they keep teaching their kids how to become wealthy. So somebody's got to start it, Hector. Somebody's got to say, I'm going to be wealthy.
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to teach my kids how to be wealthy. And somebody's got to start the trend. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's exactly right. You need to start studying what wealthy people do and start modeling and mimicking that behavior, and then teach that behavior to your family, to your children. It's not complicated. Wealthy people aren't lucky. They have problems too. They have setbacks. They get ill. They have car accidents. There's nobody that's wealthy that, I've read hundreds and hundreds of biographies of successful people over the years. And one of the things that they all have in common, these highly successful people, is they all had tons of problems on their way to being successful. But the thing they all have in common is they never let that stop them. They keep working on, making sure they're doing the right thing so that they don't have the same problems over and over again. But they have those same problems. They all do. Go bankrupt, all kinds of stuff. But they learn from them. They don't say, okay, I guess I'm not cut out for it. they keep going. And that's what you have to do. You have to keep going. You got to keep studying. You got to keep getting better. If you want your life to get better, you've got to get better. No shortcuts.
Is the victim mentality at an all-time high right now, or what? I mean,
I don't know if it is. It's high, but because there's a certain group of people that want victims. They need victims in order to achieve their political agenda and stuff. So they have to create victims. But I think there's a shift going on right now. I mean, look, you're a minority. I'm a minority. I'm a Mexican American. You see, Hispanic people and African American people and Asian people and Indian people. I mean, from India. I mean, all kinds of people from all walks of life that are having success. So if you see even one person that comes from your background that's succeeding, there's no excuse for you not to succeed. You need to find out what they're doing and model and mimic that behavior. It's not complicated.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And just to wrap things up a little bit here, Hector. So if somebody wants to be successful, I mean, give me kind of your 30 seconds, 1 minute on, like, why should they try Primerica? Why should they just give it a shot? I mean, you don't know if they're going to be successful or not, but why should they try it? Why should they give it a shot?
Because it's one of the most incredible businesses on the planet. I mean, it's one of those businesses where you can start. Look, I started part-time with no money. Like my personal investment in my Primerica business, where I've made, like I mentioned, over $75 million in Primerica. The amount of money I invested out of pocket was less than $1,500 to earn $75 million, because all the money that I invested in my business later all came from monies I made in Primerica to grow, to open offices and all that stuff. It all came. I didn't borrow money from my parents. I didn't put a mortgage on my home. My total out-of-pocket investment was $1,500. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen for you just like it happened for me. But the fact is, there aren't any businesses out there where you could start with such a minuscule investment and have the potential, once you master all the fundamentals of the business, to make huge money. There just isn't, and most business, if you're going to, like I just was reading the other day, to a McDonald's franchise, it costs about $2 million if you need $2 million of capital to start a McDonald's franchise, and the average McDonald's franchise after expenses makes about 150 grand a year. That's ridiculous. Why would you do that when you could start a business like this for less than probably today? Because they if you do certain things, they actually pay for your life license and your security license. You don't have to come up with hardly any money at all, right? And so you could have the potential in very short order to earn that and much more if you do the right things, if you master the fundamentals. So, I mean, look, why not? Why not give it a shot? Why not just check it out? If it doesn't work, you can always go do something else. Or stay at your job or whatever. It doesn't matter. But why not give it a shot? Look at all the examples of the people like you, like so many people within our business and even the whole company that are doing incredibly well. There's no reason why you can't do that. None.
I agree. Hector, last question. What's your greatest success so far? What is it, man?
My greatest success is having a family that's successful, by far. No question about that. I have a successful marriage, successful children, and there's nothing that can replace that. When you're on your deathbed, it's not the house you have or the cars you drive. It's the people your relationships and the people that you've affected in a positive way. To me, that really is success, and that by far is the most rewarding thing I've done.
Well, you have been a major success, even on your terms. I mean, you've changed so many people's lives, Hector. You've experienced the American dream, the real American dream, man.
Yes.
This is it. This is what everybody should be fighting for. The cool thing about it is it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to take that long. It can be a short stretch of years that you're all in, that you give total focus, that your work ethic is high, and and just going for it and thinking the right way, reading the right books, finding mentors, finding people that are more successful than you so you can mimic and model after them.
Right.
And just do that for a period of time, Hector. And they got a shot. I mean, got a shot. I mean, so many opportunities in America today. And so, hey, I just, I want to thank you again for being with me this morning. I want to remind people that to go check out the Wealth on the Beach Club. Every week I do a full hour, Hector. I do a half an hour lesson, and I do a half an hour Q&A for people all throughout the country. I do this now, and I'm teaching and training some of the next generation of people that want to be successful in their lives. And of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have alonzoacademy.com. I've tons of free content on YouTube, and of course, we almost got you to January 19th. I don't want to forget to mention that January 19th, we are having the Vision Tour, and we're bringing out a bunch of big names. Sharon Lecter is going to be there, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure.
She's going to be sold 30 million copies. Tim Story will be there. Of course, your friend Matt Monero is going to be there as well. And so we have a huge lineup of really talented people, as well as some really successful people in our business as well that will be there sharing their stories and their wealth of knowledge. So we're going to have you come out another time, but thank you again. I appreciate you. If anybody wants to sign up for that, make sure you go to my Instagram, click on my bio, click on the link in my bio, and that'll send you right to the to where you can check out more information about it. But with that said, as always, everybody, dream bigger than ever and do it now.